Hello and welcome to the Ivfdaddies podcast.
My name is Julio,
And my name is Richard.
and today we're going to talk about what we did for the past 2 weeks and the fact that we have 4 seasons and 42 episodes.
It's pretty amazing. I'm like, who would have thought? Nearly a year ago we started this, and here we are.
And people are asking us to be in our podcast.
And people are listening.
Yeah,
That's what surprises me the most. Actually, people are listening, but it's great info, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just come back from a bit of a mammoth trip. We went to the United States and we interviewed a whole bunch of people. And actually, interestingly enough, obviously Julio spends his life watching reality TV. And what happened?
Okay, so we went to LA. So we did a whole trip. We went to California. We went to Las Vegas for a whole conference where it was enlightening for me to understand a lot more about IVF and surrogacy. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I learned a little bit more, still a lot more to dig and discover it and understand why. Because we managed to interview 16 doctors?
Yeah, we did 16 interviews.
16 interviews. And one of those interviews was Dr. Wang. And I am obsessed of the housewives and the Real Housewives sausages. Speaking of sausages, I am going to make a compilation of every single person that we have explained the sausages is our code word for redo. And everybody's faces is just fascinating. Back to the topic. So I was excited for all this season to have Salt Lake City Housewives, to have New York Housewives, to have Orange County Housewives, Dubai. And we discovered a lot of things that surrogacy just became legal in Dubai. And on the New York Housewives, we got Jessel talking about on the first episode how she got an email for Dr. Wang that she has her embryo stored in Beverly Hills. And that's one of the doctors that we happened to interview about.
So she has her embryos stored with Dr. Huang, and he didn't mention anything. Like, we had this whole podcast on confidentiality because he's done, I mean, it's very well known that he helped one of the Kardashians, he's helped Paris Hilton, he's helped Chrissy Teigen, he's helped Jen Atkin, the hairdresser. Like, he's helped many, many people go through IVF and surrogacy or surrogacy. And we were sitting there talking to him about confidentiality, and he didn't say a word about any of them, which is, I guess, good. But at the same time, I'm like, tell me. I want to know. What are these people like?
I know. Do they have a backdoor entrance? Do they have
Everybody has a backdoor entrance.
Not that kind of backdoor entrance.
But you've already met Paris. You already know what she's like.
I know. She is amazing. And the fact that she did a whole episode about her IVF process and how to get a boy and a girl, it was shining a light on what it's like to trying to be parent and empowered of women.
Yeah. So rewind. For those of you who don't know, Julio used to be a fashion photographer in New York. And so he has in his photographs on his phone a picture taken by Taylor Swift
of Paris Hilton and I.
Him and Paris Hilton.
I think it was one of Met Gala's after parties.
So Taylor Swift touched your telephone, which my daughter is incredibly happy about, and took a photo of you in Paris.
Yeah, she is amazing. We happened to go to her concert, and if she ever wants to
be on this podcast, feel free.
Yes, please. Or if you want to have your IVF and your eggs frozen, and
but anyway, so he was talking about confidentiality and how she managed to do the whole thing very quietly, very under the radar, even though it was all on her TV show. And I thought that was amazing. The fact that you can have something so personal kept so quiet, even when you're in the public eye like that. And when you, I mean, obviously everybody in the clinic would know, but not a peep. And he was very just like, well, but it's nobody's business. It's they're having a baby. And we spoke to him about why celebrities do it. And he's like, well, because people struggle. And it doesn't necessarily mean that just because they're a celebrity, they don't want to get pregnant. They probably tried and, whatever. And it was just very interesting to see his take on it.
Yeah.
Which is very different to what I've always assumed that it's like, oh, I don't want my figure to be lost, or I can't be bothered, or I'm too busy. And he was like, most often that's not the case.
And also, the best part is that the way he explained IVF was in a manner that none of other actors have explained it, which it was more of if any husband or male, heterosexual male wants to understand IVF, I think he's going to be the best one to go to the way he explained it. And it's because all the other doctors are more female driven or for women to understand their own bodies. And this case, he explained it in a way that it was more for it was more on his take on IVF. But the thing is, one thing is the doctor disclosing a case, and another thing is how you get into the clinic. Everybody knows that it's a building about IVF, and then you get in and you get out. And he was explaining about how the process worked for having the most pristine and exclusive way to.
Yeah, people came in, they came into the clinic before the clinic opened, so that obviously nobody was looking. There's a separate lift, there was a VIP waiting room that we sat in, and it's like you keep people separate. But what was very interesting was also he said that sometimes people just come in with a baseball hat on, sit down with a hoodie, and they sit in the corner, and everybody's minding their own business. It's very much a personal journey, you know?
No, it's not like you're at the mall. You're in an IVF clinic.
Great. But everybody's sitting there and they're just not going, oh, look, it's Bob or Jane or whatever it is. That was really interesting. But anyway, back to the topic at hand was
Jessel. Oh, so Jessel on the Housewives of. You know, the funny thing is, last season, Brynn on the New York Housewives was grilled about that she said that she tried to freeze her eggs and it wasn't true. And then she did the whole egg freezing. And then we were just like reaching out on social media and she was responding. And it will be nice to have them both on the podcast to see their takes because the difference is that Brynn, just, American girl, single, freezing her eggs for the future. And Jessel just married with 2 kids, doing IVF. She has an Indian background and her moral and religious background with her family made it a lot more complicated for her to disclose to her mom. I guess the mom found out when the episode aired because,
yeah.
And now that she's saying that she wants to have a 3rd kid is with Dr. Wong out of all the doctors is really,
Which
really
is very coincidental, wasn't it? And I think it was very interesting because also she's sitting there saying, well, what if we have the next Beyonce or what if we have the next Elon Musk? And the husband's like, oh, if it's Elon Musk, obviously, but Beyonce, no. I'm like, very similar. You would like a child. I am good with the 2 that we've got. You would like another one.
But the fact, that the fact that I still think about it and it lingers in my head is they have embryos frozen. You have embryos frozen. Both of them cannot get rid of them if they don't want more kids.
Yeah.
What is that about?
I can't either. I don't know. It's a deep edit, as Maya said in one of our other episodes.
Yeah, we have an episode before this one with an embryo donation, and all of them are therapists, and they analyze the perception of your outlook on the embryo or what your mindset is when it comes to give it away or not or donate it, because it's not the same to have 1 embryo or to have 17 embryos. Because as a matter of fact, the other thing that was very interesting is that we are on the way to the clinic to do all the interviews, and I just happened to bump into a friend. She told me about all the effects of the medication, and she was doing it just to have embryos, just in case. She doesn't want to have any babies. She's very happy. But the fact that she brought up something very interesting, and is that she was very affected by the medication, and she was like this close to end everything, to throw everything away because it was like it got real dark. And she said she tried to call the clinic and nobody answered. And I was wondering if there's like a hotline for situations like that. Do you think it would be a good idea to have that as an addition?
I think most people have access to their doctors. I wasn't there, so I didn't hear the whole story, but most people have access to, by email, by phone, by message, to the nurses or the doctors. So I don't quite know what happened there. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. It can be dark. It can be difficult. It can be, you know, tough when you're going through the process, when you're living it. And then obviously you reflect back and you're like, was it as bad as I was thinking? I don't know. Because I remember the ups and the downs. Like, the highs were high. You're like, are we pregnant? Yes, we are. Is it going to stay? Oh my God, what if it doesn't stay? And then you kind of spiral. And then you're like, but we've reached the next milestone and we're still pregnant. And like, you do this all the time. And even now, not so much, but even now I'm like, are the kids okay? Are they going to be okay? Like, yesterday we were out and I was like, okay, go to the park, and they walked on their own to the park, and I'm like, are they going to get hit by a bus? Are they going to make their way back? Like, you as a parent, the highs are high and the lows are low, because
I love that you use the word parent when it comes to embryos.
I was talking about the kids yesterday crossing the road.
Oh.
Yeah, the embryos, to me, they're sitting in the freezer. They're not children. They're just embryos.
They're sitting with the chair.
They're sitting in a chair in the. They're just chilling. Boom.
Dad jokes.
I'm so bad. But that was a hit.
Yeah.
We did Ivfdaddies jokes.
I don't know any dad jokes, but I have really bad jokes. So the other thing that was very interesting was that we went to visit my friend Edgar at his house when we arrived to LA. It was like I haven't been in LA for years, so we stopped by his house. My friend Edgar Ramirez, the actor, which congratulations on all of your success and all your awards. And your success is my happiness and is an honor as a Venezuelan fella. But the funny thing is how everything aligns and everything connects us. Then we just go to his house and then we come back, and then he was doing a press release for his new production. And then it was among Selena Gomez, whom also had an interview on Vanity Fair disclaiming that she cannot carry her own babies. And I would assume that that is related to her lupus and her transplant of a kidney. So I wonder what is that related to having any... Does any person with a transplant cannot carry their own babies?
Well, it's a medical risk. Anybody who has any form of medical risk shouldn't really be looking at carrying a baby. Like, a friend of mine had a baby, and during the first child, she had a brain aneurysm, which is basically a vein or a blood capillary,
like a
whatever it is in the
stroke,
brain, burst in her brain. And they're like, you can never carry again. So if you want another child, your only option is to go through surrogacy, which was amazing that the doctor could say, you're just done. You can never have another child. They're like, your options are this. But I would assume that if you've had a transplant of an organ, then yeah, that's going to be a risk. They're like, we don't really want to put anybody at harm, you, the baby, or anyone.
But when one of the doctors wasn't the doctor saying that already being pregnant is an autoimmune suppressor or something like that?
Well, if you think about it, if you're you and you have another being living in you,
so it has to be an autoimmune suppressor, because otherwise your body will reject.
That's sometimes a cause of miscarriages, why people get pregnant to a certain point, and then the body attacks that baby, embryo, fetus, whatever, that's growing, and then it causes a miscarriage.
Well, something to debunk with the doctor.
Yeah. But I would assume, to your point, well, maybe we should ask Selena herself.
Yeah.
Selena. Seeing as this is a celebrity episode, Selena, reach out.
Yes, Selena, if you need an advice or consultation with Dr. Wong, the doctor of the celebrities, let us know.
Or with us, we'll take you for dinner.
You just say my name at the door.
But that was the thing. So literally the lift opens, the doors of the lift open, and there's a friend of yours from Spain standing here that we met in Spain. And she was like, oh my God. And you're like, oh my God. And that is one of those moments which could be super embarrassing for her, for you. But you were like, we've not seen you. This is between you and us. Like, it goes no further. It's like, this is nobody's business. And there was that sense of, okay, relief.
Yeah.
And I think again, with all of these stories that people are reaching out to us on DMs and they're messaging us, it's like it's nobody's business. This is your business. How you want to create your family is up to you. It's not down to me, it's not down to Julio, it's not down to anybody else to tell you how you should or should not do it. And I think that's a really important message that came across from Dr. Huang and his team. They were like, we don't care who you are. Like, we don't care. You're here to be treated. We're doctors. This is what we're going to do. And I really like that. I also like the fact he's like me. He's like, I don't watch TV. I don't know who half these reality people are. Like,
Well, but the good thing is that my friend knows about the podcast, and she was very keen to say, yeah, as long like protecting her name, just use my story because it's very interesting that nobody prepared her for the emotional roller coaster of the medication. I think it should be more psychological awareness on the way people are going to react. It's the same way that I have another friend of mine that just got an embryo transplant. No,
transfer.
correction, because that happens a lot.
Sausages.
No, I wanted to keep that in because it's not an embryo transplant, it's an embryo transfer. And she went to Mexico to get it. So that's considered IVF, period, right?
Yeah. It was her embryo.
Yeah.
So it was her husband's sperm, her eggs. They made it in a lab and then they put it into her.
But the fact that she went to Mexico to do it, and at the end of the day, she still had to go through all the hormones and everything, and all it's all about, maintain your boundaries, your happiness to make sure that that little chia seed on peanut butter stick. One of the doctors gave that example, and I will never see chia and peanut butter in a different way. So what else happened in our trip?
Gosh, it was busy. Your face has recovered from the accident that you had, which is great, apart from pressure on the plane. That was bad, but we managed to interview and do stuff, which was good. Then it was also very interesting because we did an interview with a friend of mine from France who lives in the States, and to get that cultural perspective as well on, again, it's a process. You're doing the process in the US, but you live in a different country potentially. And how does that then feed into what you're doing? And I think that just sometimes you sit there going, okay, yeah, this is regular, it's run of the mill, everybody can do it, blah, blah, blah. But actually, you do the process, you go home, and then you have to face a whole new barrage of potential problems that people overcome because they're like, I want a family. I love this child. This is my dream. And you're like, I don't care. I'm going to face this front on. And I love that story. Like, that was a really touching moment for me as well, to see friends of mine who have overcome obstacles, challenges, and have a beautiful family. Like, that's really cool.
Well, I mean, it's just like, what is not in the family industry of like a wedding, like wedding planners, christenings, like all of that has to do with money-making family industries. Like, why not IVF and surrogacy? This has been a great episode, and thank you guys for watching.
Thanks a lot. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.